Hey, it's Aaron the Metal Theologian. So, yeah, I was up in New York over the weekend and got a couple records. And so there are a couple really cool jazz records, good trip, all sorts of shit like that. But there's a particular shop that I went to where I got a couple metal records, and we're going to talk about them. So, actually, on the trip also, when I was at a rest stop in Maryland, I found this, which I'd never heard of before, a Rofo Pop, which sounds a lot like Mofo Pop, if you ask me. But anyway, you gotta check it out for the show, right? I actually bought a couple. I was really thirsty too, but I got something else to drink, and I was like, oh, these are coming home for the show. So yeah, never heard of this before. I will say that this bottle, which is like 24 fluid ounces, it's a big fucker, right? This is just like an optical illusion. It'd be funny if my head were like the size of a fist. So this were actually just a 12-ounce bottle, and it just looked weird like that. But anyway, for scale. And yeah, they had pineapple and grape and orange. And I was like, I've had enough sun-kissed and shit that I don't really need another orange. But I got the grape and the pineapple. We're going to talk about the grape today. So let's see if this is good. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is this was $1.69, and at the same place a Coke was like $2.50 for one of those 16-ounce bottles. So it's cheap shit. Yeah, it's really good, man. It's everything you want in a grape soda. It's maybe a little more like a water back than like a soda back. You know what I mean? It's like where I expect a little bit more carbonation. It kind of feels a little just like water. And not so much on the second sip. You know how like you get that burst of flavor and then it sort of washes away and you're sort of swallowing the liquid, you know what I mean? That kind of felt a little more like water on that first sip than I want than like, the soda with like a little bit of sort of, not like a burn, but just like a little tiny bit of a bite from the leftover carbonation. So we're listening to Dr. Mastermind. I actually pulled this record out. It's a Roadrunner press, so there you go. I think it was originally a Shrapnel release. Yeah, and actually the story is with this one. I bought this years ago because I had seen it sitting around at my local record shop and, kind of poo-pooed it a little bit because, it's the fucking Dr. Mastermind record, right? Looks a little silly. It was on Shrapnel, not really the best label for, good bands as opposed to someone just fucking playing, but, Greeno actually showed this, like, not too long after I started my channel, like, really early on, probably within my first 10 videos or so. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll go grab it because it'll be funny if Greeno shows this record and then I show it in the next video. It was brand new then and shit like that. It seemed really funny, So, yeah, the reason I'm talking about this, and I'm actually going to put another one while we listen to it. We're going to listen to a couple minutes of Whiz while I tell this story. On the Fingerprint label. Out of, I believe, Sweden. Anyway, this is a cool record too. It's has that Scandinavian magic, that Swedish magic, but in a little bit of a different way than some of the others because they have a lot more synth than most of the others. But they still kind of bring it. It's kind of unique, really. It's not a record that gets a whole lot of love around these parts, including on my channel. Really, I don't talk about it very often, but it's not a great record, but it's a really cool record. There it is again. So anyway, the issue with Dr. Mastermind is since last time I was talking about when a shitty seller like spoils a record for you, and I kind of had an experience like that with this record. If you look at this, like there's seam split on the top, and it's not like a perfect copy. And this was like 8 years ago now too, so it was before records had gotten so expensive. And this thing had been sitting around at the shop for $18, So basically, I went up to the registrar. I was getting a couple other things too, and I just sort of asked if they could knock a couple bucks off for me, right? And the person behind the counter said no, they couldn't do it, which was fine. You know what I mean? I was totally ready for that. But she continued and said, and besides, the owner is the only one who prices records, and he looks them up on Amazon, so he knows what things are worth. And I was like, did you really just say that to me? Like, because you're fucking moron of a boss? Sure, it's a bookstore, by the way, not a record store. They just had a few records, and they're always overpriced. And it's a good shop, generally speaking. I'm not naming them now because I don't want to fuck them up. They're local, and it's a great shop for books, and occasionally I find records there, and frankly, the overconfidence of the ownership has served me well. I found more than one multi-$100 record there for less than $10. I can think of two off the top of my head where I spent about $6, and in one case the record's worth about $200, and another it's worth about $600. So no problem. He can keep looking this shit up on Amazon, you know. But I was just offended, you know what I mean? That someone would say that to me. That someone put my 30 years of record collecting against some fucking dumbass with his phone. It's like right here, you know. So I fucking love this record, but you know when I figured it out? Last week. Because I filed this record away, like I said to do in my last video, and it stayed filed away for all that time. I think I pulled it out once in the intervening years, and like, just couldn't do it still. So finally I pulled it out. I was like, man, this is a really good band. You know, they're probably fake. I mean, it doesn't really seem like a real band to me. Actually, I guess Dr. Mastermind is maybe supposed to be the guy. Yeah, whatever. It's kind of smells like a fake band, but you know something? It rocks, and the writing is weird. It's like a little bit sort of chaotic, and like maybe a way overreaching to say it was like Voivod-ish at all. But it has its own style, you know. So you can get past the stupid cover, and you should be helped by that with these kind of awesome band photos right there. Anyway, it's really cool. I gotta give a little shout out to this record too, actually. So, you know, I discovered my inner Y&T fan maybe about a year or so ago. And I had the first couple albums anyway because they're not that bad. And like I really came around to Earthshaker, and I finally broke down and got over myself and bought a copy of Black Tiger, and I fucking loved it and played it every day. But I couldn't find a copy of Mean Streak, which is the last one I kind of wanted, and I couldn't justify paying $20 for it or ever it cost shipped because I was like, I've seen too many of those in dollar bins over the years. I can't do it, you know. So anyway, when I was in New York, in the city no less, I found a copy of this for $8, and I've been playing it kind of a lot. I've only been home for 2 days, but I played it twice. So yeah, and it's loaded up with cheese, man. Like Midnight in Tokyo. I mean, come on, that's like the corniest fucking title ever. Midnight in Tokyo, my ass. But like Hang 'em High is legitimately a solid rocker. Like Midnight in Tokyo is like you're taking the grain of salt with it. It's cool. I mean, I like this whole record. Okay, there is not a clunker on here as far as I'm concerned. But if you're looking for the cheese, it is right there, front and center. You know what I mean? But if you can't handle the cheese and you're just looking for the good songs, they're still on here with like Hang 'em High and shit like that. You probably won't make it through the whole record. You know, I wouldn't have when I was 16 and just wanted to hear shit that was heavier. But you know, these days, having mellowed with age and become a little more forgiving, yeah, I can totally handle it with Y&T. I don't know that I need anything after this record, though. You know, I've got my limits. All right, so this is sort of the topic. Here, we're going to get to the blind buys now, okay? So I busted these out because, I've never heard of these before. I don't know anything about these records. But I decided to get them. So I'm going to show them to you and sort of talk through the pros and the cons it's sort of in my decision-making process, and then we're going to listen to them and we're going to see if they're any good or not. I actually got home last night, and it was really hard to not play these because I was really kind of curious, but I managed to hold in there. So this is guaranteed like a fresh, like, first listen here. Okay, so this is the first one. Dutch Kills. Alright, here's a plus. Plain cover with just, you know, an old English font, looks super cheap. It's a little bit wordy. It's a little bit indirect. Like, I don't quite know what the fuck they mean with this. Whereas if they were just called, like, Dragon or, like, Venom or something like that, you know exactly what, you know what I mean? But, okay, so far so good. Oh, it was $10 too, this one, so that's how much I was rolling the dice for. Okay, there's a barcode on it. That's a bad sign. But kind of indifferent, and it's more than balanced out by the fact that this is totally a private label. Look at that shit. Okay? Red A Records. It's actually really funny now that I think about it. It didn't cross my mind before, but... Here's another one, too. Is I was on Long Island when I got this. I wasn't actually right in the city. But the exit before the one where I got off to go to the record stores for Hop Hog, New York. And so the fact that this was the address on the back of the thing mostly decided it, okay? The other thing I considered here is, okay, it's 89, it's a little bit late, but it's not necessarily too late, especially, you know, as we've learned with, like, Soviet metal and Jesus metal. There's still some pretty good shit happening, 89, 90, 91, 92 even, you know? So Ordinary Boy is kind of neutral as a song, although it's 2.5 minutes long, so at least they know better than to overstay their welcome. And for side 2, they picked a cover of Locomotive Breath, so it's like kind of a demerit for having gone with Jethro Tull, but kind of a merit again because it's Locomotive Breath, which is kind of a rockin' song. And Iron Maiden got away with a Jethro Tull cover too, so yeah. So we decided to roll the dice, okay, and there we go. So we're gonna fire this bad boy up right now and see if it's any good or see if it sucks. That Wiz is pretty rockin' though, isn't it? Still a funny band name. It's like you can see him saying, like, next time you're at the record store, be sure to take a whiz on Fingerprint Records. All right. I'm kind of chomping at the bit here. I'm like, do one of these. Oh. You know what else is kind of sucks about this is that the shrink wrap is old. It's really stuck on there. You can see that. That's like the way that shrink wrap will really fuck up your records if you don't tear it off. That's kind of the main reason I do it. Like, people talk about warping. But for a record to warp enough to really like be damaged, that shrink wrap has to really, really tighten a lot. And it does happen, but it's not very common. It seems more common to me that it sort of like fuses with the laminate on the cardboard of the cover. And that's kind of when it screws you over. So I'm actually going to tear this off in a second. We'll see if I regret it. But here we go. This is Ordinary Boy by Dutch Kills, which I'm hopefully playing at the right speed because it's just one song, but it says 33, so. It's a pretty good riff. I forgot to mention the name sounded a little bit punk too. The Dutch Kills kind of sounded like it might be more punk than metal, so that made me a little nervous. But see, the Jethro Tull counteracts that, you know. This is the least band you can possibly cover, or the least punk band you can possibly cover. Looks like it's coming off. Shrink is making me nervous. Dude, I can totally handle this. In fact, this is 89, as we've already observed, right? And this sounds a little bit less than fully committal to metal in its idioms, but totally there was sort of the rockin' aspect. And around the same time, you were kind of starting to see that in some of the bands that you know, weren't really metal bands, but, you know, were sort of hard rock and popular, like Great White and shit like that, Cinderella, you know. To me, most of that shit isn't even metal. It's just, you know, it's kind of, it's like post-metal. I mean, I hate to say it, but anyway, I almost wish if they had gone more in this direction, sort of collectively, rather than doing that blues rock thing, which was just already so fucking tired by the 80s, you know. Because it's just like straight punch. I can totally hang with this. Goddamn, man. Fuck yeah, man. Dutch Kills. A new and welcome arrival in the fucking library, and one I hadn't heard of a week ago, you know? You know, one thing about my older boy being into CDs now is that we're out, like, in the world somewhere on vacation or whatever, and I want to go to the record store. I'd have to be the asshole. Because he's like, yeah, I want to go to the record store. I have to offer. When we went up there, I was like, well, we're going to do this and that, and we're going to hang out, it's family shit, you know? And I was like, but, you know, I send away for records now. It's okay. It's like, when I go to somewhere else, it's not like this rare opportunity for me to get outside of my local city, you know what I mean? I kind of have that available to me, so. But Coltrane's like, oh, no, let's go check out some records. Like, I can totally hang with this fucking record. I'm gonna put it on and listen. We're gonna listen to a minute of Locomotive Breath. I'm not gonna wait for this huge ass run out groove. Look at this. You see that? Like from here all the way to the center of the record is just run out groove. It's a little better on this side, but not a lot. All right. Locomotive Breath. I'll really laugh when an ad gets put on this because of this fucking cover. Hopefully they did something weird with the speed or pitch or something to fuck it up. Or else, whatever. Anyway, so here's the other one. This one in a way was easier, but in a way was harder too. Because it was harder in a way because this cover really kind of looks like 70s garbage. And Trilogy is such a bad name for a band. Guess how many people there are in the band, right? Now, I probably wouldn't have looked at it if it weren't already, if it weren't signed to Fred. What does that say? I can't read it backwards. Live, love, and laugh. Yabba dabba do. Signed by Doug, who put a smiley face in the D. I guess his name is Doug Staley. It appears to be that guy. Now, so this record, I mean, this looks like, this looks like a trapeze record after Glenn Hughes left, That's kind of what this looks like. It's about the caliber of, It's like you would hope this would be as good as like an early Pat Travers record. That's about how solid this cover looks to me. So, from the intent standpoint, like I said, there's nothing with the font. Oh, it's $5, by the way. The stage may be an intent with the stacks and the speakers, but still, They do a cover of Immigrant Song, which, while kind of trite, is, generally signals a pretty good intent. You know what I mean? Like, really shitty bands don't seem to, I don't know, they don't go for Zeppelin covers. They do, like, Elvis covers or some dumb shit like that, If I want to be an asshole, I'd say Diamond Head covers. But Metallica's about the only band that consistently picked good covers, so this is one context in which I really can't shit on them. Alright, so check this out, though. 3 guys in the band. You got one pretty solid mustache, one pretty solid afro. And look at that guy right there. He's got the fucking afro, and he's got the girth. So yeah, when I saw John Gabamonte's, Pudgy Glory, I was like, I am buying this fucking record. Because yeah, it's made in the USA, and by the way, this one was also a total private press. Yeah, lyrics and music by Frank Costa. Looks like it's his band. And by the way, it's dedicated to Fred Live Love. I suspect that Fred is... Oh shit, I looked at this yesterday so I could do this as a bit, There's like the photographer or something like that on here. There it is. Video by Fred Weiss. So I suspect this is Fred Weiss's old copy of the Trilogy record. That isn't a super promising font, by the way, for the lyrics either. You see that shit? I like, Let's Rock, Songs for a Rock and Roll Night, Final Letter. This record definitely has the potential to suck. In fact, like I was saying, in a way this looks a little bit less promising because where this one kind of looks like it could have been a punk record, this one looks like it could be a really crappy AOR record. But you know something, dude? I was just talking about Y&T, so maybe I shouldn't be prejudging shit on its AOR-ness. I don't know, you know something? I used to hate all glam. And then especially around the time I started doing the channel, but also prior to that, just during sort of, when I was looking really hard for new shit, I kind of came around with some of these bands a little bit and softened a little bit, but then I kind of turned on it again. And I think my issue is when I thought I was softening on glam, what I was really doing was softening on AOR. So where they were kind of AOR-y, I was kind of able to deal with it. But where they were just straight up glam, they still kind of made me sick to my stomach. Stretch the guitar, not a synth. So it's not very heavy. Singer isn't exactly a dynamo, but I can totally hang with that hook. That's a nice transition there. Kind of an obvious thing they're doing with the bridge, though. I like what they did for. Never mind. It's fucking. I don't want to try and get away tone progression shit that I can't even talk about intelligently anymore because it's been too many years that I went to school. Yeah. So this isn't really super ballsy, you know what I mean? I think if anyone in this band had particularly big balls, one of them probably got lost, like to cancer or like in a war or something like that. Because this record just, maybe it delivers one big one or two like medium-sized ones. But there's nothing wrong with this man. Like if I pull out fucking the Spider record that I was so into last week, and I want to hear a little something else like that. This isn't the same thing, but it kind of goes in that direction, It kind of has, it doesn't really sound like boogie, but it has a boogie sensibility to it. And that isn't always a healthy thing for metal. But I don't think this record's really trying to be anything that it's not, or pretending to be anything it's not, I should say. Those leads are kind of humble. It's pretty cool, but it's I don't think he's gonna attract the attention of fucking Mike Varney or whatever that showed from Shrapnel is called, Yeah, this is cool. Let me bump it ahead to one more song. Actually, we're gonna bump it ahead because I'm gonna skip the Immigrant song here. I think we all know how that goes. This is songs for a rock and roll night. Oh, take one. Did you hear that? They did this on one take. God damn, they must have been great. There's this weird thing with the hi-hats where it's alternating which speaker it's in. I'm sure it's not coming through, but it's actually it's kind of super obvious, but also kind of really cool. Listen, man, I've got every penny of my $5 worth of enjoyment out of this fucking record. So, John Gabamonte and Frank Costa and Doug Staley, if you're out there somewhere, salute, because I really like your fucking record. I could sit here and find all sorts of flaws with it, but at the end of the day, this record is fun and cool, and it's kind of a diamond in the rough, man, and that's what this channel is all about, is fucking finding shit like this. So, I'm on board. I don't care if you got Feet of Clay, man. You got Feet of Clay in my fucking record collection. So, right on. Anyway, I talk a lot about the virtue of blind buying and high-pounding my best shit that way, and how I think it's more fun to just, put shit on the turntable and take it in rather than listen to shit online first or whatever. So, today we give you a little bit of insight into, sort of how the thought process goes down, because, you gotta weigh the pros and the cons. You're trying to decide if something looks metal enough to be worth the gamble, and and sometimes you get a couple clunkers. Sometimes you get one that's fucking great and really rare too, once in a long while. But sometimes you just find a couple things that are kind of mediocre but a lot of fun and they didn't cost a lot of money. And you go, fuck yeah, dude, I'm in. That's what I'm doing today. Awesome. With that, thanks for watching. Now you can click just like Metal Theologian. Take care. Thanks for watching.